Today's topic is reaching the unbanked and refugees with digital financial services using basic phones. I am speaking with Tori Samples, founder and CTO of Leaf Global Fintech. Hello, Tori.
Hi, Michelle.
How are you?
Doing well, thanks.
And where are you today?
I am in Maine, traveling to see family, but usually I'm based in Kigali, Rwanda.
Awesome. So, Tori, let's dive in and tell me your story.
Sure. So, started Leaf Global Fintech with my co-founder, Leaf CEO, Nat Robinson, about 2 years ago. We had been seeing this problem consistently where people, usually refugees and migrants, end up carrying their life savings across borders in cash when they leave their country because they have no other options. Banks won't serve them. Point-to-point money transfer services are extremely expensive and can't hold money. And so they end up being robbed along the way, taken advantage of, often experience violence or theft. And so we thought, okay, what if we can provide digital financial services using the technology that people already have? And so when we looked globally, we found that this was a huge problem, but the infrastructure is there to support solutions. And so that's when we started working on Leaf. And now we have a mobile platform that uses blockchain technology to help people safely store and transport their money across borders. And it doesn't even require a smartphone.
When did you hear about blockchain, and how do you came out with the idea of using it for the digital financial services for the unbanked refugees?
So my background is in database design. I am a data architect, and quite frankly, I was very skeptical of using blockchain at first. I had heard so much hype around it, and at the end of the day, blockchain is a database. It will do what a database does. It's not going to save the world. And so I think we were very intentional and very careful. We started experimenting, though, after seeing the benefits that blockchain could provide, specifically with the ability to move value across the world seamlessly. And so we started developing on Ethereum originally, or just experimenting there. And we found that that wasn't a great fit for us. Bitcoin reputationally, especially in 2017, 2018, just wasn't going to work for us when you're dealing with a sensitive group like refugees. And so that's when we started working on Stellar. The Stellar distributed ledger is what we use today. And the technology is a great fit for what we do. It's extremely fast. It's extremely cheap to do transactions upon it. And it allows us to issue custom assets, which we can talk about later. But it's a great fit for us. And we've been on that for about a year and a half now.
Tell me more about Leaf Global Fintech. How do you come up with the name? What was your intention when you built the company? And what was your vision around that?
Sure. So I think for me, it's very personal. I have been working with resettled refugees in the US for about 15 years. That's just part of my community, part of my friends and family network. And so I've seen firsthand what it looks like for somebody to lose their assets on top of losing their way of life and their community and their family. Often they go from being used to having wealth to having nothing. And so it's extremely personal for me. And I think I also have seen that these people have money. There's a very common stereotype that refugees are all poor and not very financially literate, and that's just not true. You've got the whole spectrum of wealth and the whole spectrum of financial literacy and tech savviness. And so we saw a big opportunity there. My co-founder's background is in financial services in East Africa, so he's very familiar with this problem and has a history of using digital financial services to reach those typically excluded. And so that's how we came up with it. And then the name, it's kind of a funny story. So if you think about the bank branch and the branches of a tree, the leaves are beyond the branch. And so we thought, well, we're the little leaves reaching beyond the bank branch.
That's awesome. There's a lot of steps, of course, in building a fintech company. What was your aha moment? Like, when did you realize that we're going to stick with this and we're going to build this up?
I think it was seeing the effect in person. So we looked globally at about 9 countries before settling in on East Africa, specifically the borders of Congo, Rwanda, and Uganda. And while we see this problem globally, There's a lot of tech infrastructure in East Africa that makes it easier to start there. It's also a slower burning conflict, and with my co-founder's background, it made a lot of sense for us to start there. And so we started doing a lot of customer research in Rwanda, and we talked to people over and over and over again saying the same thing, which is, this would have saved my money. This would have saved me from so much trouble. This would have helped me avoid being robbed and forced to pay bribes at the border. This would have changed my life. And hearing that consistently, I think, was the aha moment to say, we're really onto something here. And then being able to do it on a mobile device, a phone, and not require a smartphone to do it, makes it work within that context.
In these countries, do people usually have a smartphone, or do they use a basic phone? For someone who doesn't know anything about refugees and Unbanked, what does it mean for the community?
So it varies with smartphone penetration, just like anywhere in the world. But you definitely have people, even in Rwanda, Uganda, Congo, that have smartphones and use them. The interesting thing is that a little bit different than in the US, it's not just about the device itself, the hardware. You still find a lot of people who might have the smartphone device, but can't afford or choose not to pay for the data. And so even if they have a smartphone, it doesn't guarantee that they're using it. A lot of people will still carry around a basic phone because it's cheaper and meets most of their needs. But I think you still have a large percentage of the population that is more comfortable using a basic phone. There's a system in East Africa called mobile money, like M-Pesa in Kenya. And they've done a phenomenal job over the last 10 years, really revamping the financial system. It's basically like Venmo for dumb phones. You can send money, pay for things, and it doesn't require a smartphone. And so people are very comfortable with that system. They know it, they use it on a daily basis. And so that's what we tried to build our product to look like, to replicate that system for people, since they already know it. And it's easier technically as well, I think.
Let's talk about the product a little bit more. So it sounds like if I have a basic phone, and if you have another phone, you can send money to me.
Yep. Yeah. So the Leaf product allows people to store their money over time and send it across borders. And in the process, that also builds a system where you can send peer-to-peer. So yes, if I want to send you money, I can do that. If you want to send me money, same thing. And so what that looks like on a smartphone, that's a little bit easier to explain. It's just an app that you download, and you can deposit money into the Leaf system through the existing mobile money system. And so if you have a mobile money account, you can just pull from that account. You can also pull from anyone else's account if they approve that transaction. And then once the money is on the platform, you can store it in any of the regional currencies that we support. So that might be Rwandan francs, it might be Ugandan shillings, Kenyan shillings, etc. And then you can exchange back and forth between currencies. You can send to other people in the Leaf system. And if you do want to take that money outside of the Leaf system, say that you've crossed a border, you're at a point of safety, or you want to have that in physical cash, at that point you can send out to a different mobile money number, whether it's your own or someone else's, or you can always withdraw at any of our partner banks' agent locations. And that process is basically the same on a non-smartphone as well. It's basically dialing a short code. So for example, *384#, you dial that, and a little menu box pops up, and you're able to do all of the same commands through a series of numeric inputs.
Awesome. So that's text to get, text to send, and then also text to receive, right?
So it's a technology called USSD, but yes, it's we try to make it as simple as possible, so it's not just typing in a lot on a small little basic phone.
Yep. I love that. And do you have any competitors in the space?
Yeah, I mean, always, right? The legacy systems. I think the status quo is our biggest competition at this point, which is just carrying cash. Nobody does it because it's convenient or safe or cheap, but it is known. And so I think our biggest hurdle is just getting people onto the system. I think once they understand what Leaf does, they're very apt to jump on, but it's a matter of getting the word out, of course. And then on the more established side, most of our competitors either lie in the camps of money storage or money transfer. And so on the storage side, it's banks and mobile money that don't really do cross-border transactions. And then on the other side, you've got the point-to-point money transfer companies, like MoneyGram, for example, that you can send money to another person, but it has to be picked up within a certain number of days or it gets returned to the sender. And it's usually very expensive.
Yeah. What does your cost look like?
Our cost for the user?
For the users, yes.
Yeah, so right now sending within the Leaf system, so leaf-to-leaf transaction is always free, similar to Venmo, anything like that. And then there's small transaction fees to withdraw money from the Leaf system out to either mobile money or physical cash. And then we're able to make a little bit of money on the foreign exchange spread as well, but that's not a cost to the user.
How do you see this company expand in the future?
We're very excited to expand. As I mentioned, it is a global problem. Unfortunately, there are many needs that need to be met around the world still. And as our name implies, we envision ourselves as a global company, Leaf Global Fintech. And so we've already started to work on establishing partnerships in Colombia that will allow us to serve the Venezuelan population there. We're also working to expand our East Africa footprint. We're live in 5 countries today, but would like to expand that across the continent, and in addition to expanding in Latin America and then eventually Middle East and Southeast Asia as well.
How are you using blockchain in your ecosystem?
Yeah. So that's a fun one. Not sure how technical we want to get, but basically we are creating wallets, custodial wallets on behalf of our users that are held on the Stellar ledger. And then within that system, we're able to create assets on Stellar that mimic the currencies that our users are used to seeing in real life. And so we kind of avoid the use of the word stable coin, but if you want to think about it that way, you can. And so, as I mentioned, a user on our system might see Ugandan shilling tokens, and that's going to be pegged 1-to-1 to the Ugandan shilling. So they know exactly what that means, and the money is backed 1-to-1 in a bank. And so we're able to issue those assets on Stellar, and users from there can trade them freely, exchange them into other currencies that we support, send them to others, et cetera. And then all of those transactions, every cash in, cash out, exchange, send, et cetera, those are all stored on Stellar as well. So there's a very clear, transparent record of what is happening with refugees' money as we help them manage that.
I'm a big fan of stablecoin, and especially in Africa. I think that is an awesome idea. Do you have any other areas of your project that I didn't ask about that you would like to share?
I think we do a lot of education around what it's like to be a refugee and who refugees are, just destigmatizing the whole population as much as possible. And so we like to bring that home to people, to just say, hey, these are normal people. You know, any of us could be in that situation. And so it's not inherently a riskier population than any other population. It's not that this group is any different than you and me. And so I think that's a big deal. And then one of the more frequently asked questions that we get in our markets is this just for refugees, or can I use it too? And so I think it helps with that idea of broadening, okay, who is a refugee, who has need of cross-border financial services? I think the answer is all of us at some point in our lives, most likely. And so we do like to clarify that while this is built for refugees and migrants, it's not exclusively for them. And so we see ourselves expanding to a broader population while still being able to specifically meet this population's needs.
And what does your team look like right now?
Yeah, we have a fantastic team. So myself and my co-founder started this, obviously, and then have been able to bring on a lot of local expertise, mostly in East Africa. And so we've got some local developer talent that has been phenomenal in helping us address the true market needs. And then we've got a couple marketing coordinators. We've got a couple people in the US as well that are helping on the fundraising and investment side.
And what is one advice that you would like to provide to the larger community?
Wow. That could go a lot of different ways. And I am definitely still learning every day. I think that's part of what I love about being an entrepreneur is that every time I feel like I've got it figured out, it changes, which can be frustrating, but it's also good. And so I'd say my biggest advice is for anyone who is considering starting a tech company or integrating new technology into an existing company, just be careful and creative about how you use technology. There are so many wonderful things that it can help us with, but none of that matters outside of context and the real world. And so especially with blockchain, I think we've been very careful in how we use the technology and would like to see it succeed with other people who have the same type of mindset, making it available to everyone.
And where could folks learn more about Leaf Global Fintech?
Well, you can always visit our website, leafglobalfintech.com, or follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. at Leaf Global Tech.
Thank you, Tori. Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much, Michelle. It's been great talking with you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.